I remember the exact sound of my mother's voice when she said it, cold entitled final. You'll need to pay more rent now that your brother's family is moving in. They have kids. It's only fair. Fair. The word stung more than any insult could. That night, I sat in my room, the same one I'd paid rent for every month on time for 6 years. While downstairs, my golden child brother and his wife were laughing, unpacking boxes, claiming space that used to be mine. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't argue. I just listened and planned. When I first started paying rent to my parents, it wasn't about them money. It was about respect. I'd moved back home after college, told them I'd contribute while I got on my feet. My brother Ryan had already been married by then. A man with 2 kids, a mortgage he couldn't handle, and a trail of bad decisions my parents always cleaned up after. Still, I paid month after month, quietly, consistently. I helped with groceries, fixed things around the house, even took my mother to her doctor's appointments. And every time Ryan visited, she'd light up like a switch had been flipped. Her voice softer, her eyes warmer. I was their liable one, but he was the adored one. I used to think it didn't bother me until it did. It started small, little changes. The fridge filled with food I hadn't bought, utilities skyrocketing, my mother snapping at me over trivial things. Then one evening, I overheard her on the phone. My name, my rent, and a sentence that froze me mid-step. She can't afford it. She doesn't have a family. It's her duty to help. Duty? Like I was some kind of servant in my own home. That's when I realized they weren't asking me to help. They were using me to sustain them. I didn't explode. I didn't even confront her. I just smiled and started taking notes. Every payment, every receipt, every small favor I'd done for the household. I had a paper trail that could shame an accountant. Then I quietly searched for a 1-bedroom apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just mine. I signed the lease in silence, packed at night, and moved out over 2 weekends while they were visiting Ryan's in-laws. When the last box was gone, my old room looked the way it had before I moved back. Empty and impersonal. Like I'd never existed there at all. And I left the key on the kitchen counter with a single note. I don't live here anymore. The next rent day, my mother called sharp and demanding, "Where's your payment?" I kept my tone calm. "I don't live there anymore." "What are you talking about?" "You can't just, the lease was verbal month to month. I've fulfilled every payment. You said yourself I wasn't family anymore, just a tenant. So consider this my notice." Silence. Then the sputtering panic began. "You can't leave now." "Your brother, we. You'll figure it out," I said softly, and hung up. The next week, she texted me photos of overdue bills, crying emojis, guilt-soaked messages. Then Ryan called, furious, saying I'd left them in a mess. I didn't reply, but I heard through a mutual friend that their utilities had been cut off for non-payment. My mother had no savings. She'd depended on my rent to cover half the household. Ryan tried to help, but ended up borrowing even more. Within a month, they were drowning in debt. By the 3rd, they were fighting daily. And me, I was free. Months later, my mother showed up at my new apartment uninvited. Her eyes were swollen, her hair messy, a shadow of her usual self. "You've destroyed this family," she said, standing in my doorway. I let her talk, let her unravel. She blamed me for the unpaid bills, Ryan's failing marriage, even her health. Then she said, the one thing that snapped the last string of restraint in me. "You're heartless. We gave you everything." I stepped closer, voice steady. "You didn't give me everything. You earned it. Every dollar, every ounce apiece. I paid rent for years while Helived-free. And when I stopped, you finally saw who was really holding your house together." She blinked. Something in her eyes cracked. Realization, maybe, or just shame. "You think you've won?" she whispered. "No," I said quietly. "I just stopped losing, and I closed the door." In the weeks that followed, I heard bits and pieces through relatives. Ryan's wife left him. My mother started renting out the spare rooms to strangers. The house that once felt suffocating was now just another property drowning in bills. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone. It's about removing yourself from the place that let them destroy you. Still, I won't pretend I didn't feel satisfaction. There's a certain poetry in watching people realize how much they depended on the one they dismissed.